Hi everyone, this is Arun from Polio Consulting. I'm the CEO, and we are sorry that RS Man couldn't join in because he had some health issues. So I'll be walking us through along with Anand. Anand, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Arun. I am the Chief Delivery Officer over here at Polio Consulting. We will be walking you through on how the DevOps play a role in the Salesforce and how easily can you manage your development pipelines, your operations, and your releases through that.
Okay, so Anand, can you share your screen and we can I'll walk through the agenda and then Anand can take over. So I think our quick agenda for today would be that what are the common challenges in delivering projects? When we have projects and there are certain challenges that we face. So what are those common challenges going through the life cycle of the development? Then we'll understand how Salesforce DevOps really works, and why choose Salesforce DevOps to your organization. I mean, there are certain technologies which offer DevOps, but we will be then taking us through the fact that why is that we should go through. I mean, why is that Salesforce DevOps infra is so much better than the other ones? The core components of Salesforce DevOps. Real use case we might walk you through. So we will be walking you through, how it typically works and some of the best practices. So once we're done with this, we have a quick fire chat between me and Anand. If you guys want to have certain questions, you can type that down. We will take that up towards the end of the session.
So majorly when we talk about common challenges in delivering the projects, it happens on the Salesforce side that every time few different branches, few different developers are doing their own works and the development is continuously going up. But when it comes to have all the development work being merged onto a single platform and integrated into a single platform and can be transferred to a QA environment to have the QA over there, it is a very time consuming process and it leads to very errors over there where we might lose out few of the components that we have made changes on, or when merging all those instruments over there, all the development codes over there, it leads to few of the errors and we lose out a lot of time in delivering that to the next cycle of that. There are deployment issues when we deploy, there are inconsistencies between different environments. Someone might have made changes to an upper environment directly over there, which is leading to a conflicts between the deployment. The testing becomes inconsistent if the deployment are going from a different platforms, different or scratch orgs or the developer editions, or you can say developer sandboxes, whichever structure that you are using on that. It always comes to that point where testing suffers the most because as soon as we make a single change, the tester needs to go through a complete life cycle on that. And everybody on the Salesforce environment does have this problem from the complete past decade, where whenever they make changes, they always lose out what was the last version, what were the last changes that were made, what are the new changes that has been made in the current environment. There is no track of that at all. And the last is the poor monitoring onto which changes, which releases, which development cycles of the tickets has been progressed to what level at the complete process of releasing a specific feature from the initiation of development to the release it on the production. So we are not able to picturize it anywhere on the Salesforce.
Okay, so Anand, if for people to typically understand, what we are trying to say, I think we've highlighted the major 5 challenges that we have come across as Codelio, and while we integrated it, with our Salesforce and we started following these best practices, these are the most common challenges that actually we kind of addressed by implementing.
These are the major pointers that actually hamper us a lot and make us utilize 20% more time in delivering the same amount of work that we have.
I agree. Okay, thank you.
So I'll quickly brief you what the Salesforce DevOps. In the industry, in the IT industry, everybody knows the term DevOps. It's basically a development and the operations, which are two different cycles going out. One is a developers team who is building all the features, and the operations team who is controlling the promotion of those features to different environments and when it's going to be released on the production for the consumer base. So it basically allows us on to, for me, it's two major pointers for a collaborator and an enabler, which helps me in collaboration between the development, the testing, and the operations team. It allows a complete smooth transition from starting from the development cycle. We had a code base, it moved to the testing, they are working on that. If there are bugs raised, a cycle is going out on that. And the operation who is just checking, the main problem of the project managers or the operations team is that where do I look into the system to see, okay, which feature is at what level? Do I need to go back to another platform? Let's say if you're using Jira or Azure DevOps or anything else, where should I go and look it on that? Where should I get to know? So it provides a single platform to have a better collaboration on that. And on the other front, it enables our complete development team and the delivery team to roll out all the features in a quick way. The developer only needs to focus on to what needs to be developed. He doesn't need to focus, okay, if this feature is going to the next environment, are we going to have some issues or not? That will not be an issue when we have the DevOps. So why should we choose the DevOps over all the and different kind of available in the market? We do have Salesforce DevOps, we do have Azure DevOps, we have Jenkins, we have AutoRabbit. We have so many features and softwares available in the market that can be used and utilized to manage the DevOps. So why the DevOps or the Salesforce DevOps is best for managing the release management on Salesforce. So all the DevOps that are currently available in the market, a few of them only specialize in the Salesforce environment. So if you say about Azure DevOps or Jenkins and others, they are majorly focused on the core languages of Java, you can say Python, you can say, or you can say React Native that are currently going on. But when we talk about Salesforce, Salesforce does have a unique feature. It doesn't have an application and database layer separated. They have an integrated layer over there. So that kind of complications in the architecture leads to a completely different problem statement to manage the DevOps over here. That's where the Salesforce released the DevOps, so that we can have a very quick turnaround time for every release to make it to the production. We can easily maintain our quality during those transitions, as we will have a version control into that, so that we can know what changes we are pushing to the next environment. We are not blinded on that. And that leads to very reduced risk on that. We are consuming a lot less time, a quality delivery, and the best practices are going ahead. Utilizing it is basically we can also control and quality check each and every change that is progressing on those. And it's easily scalable onto the part, whether you are managing your own Salesforce or where I am the company owner and I do have a Salesforce implemented for us and we are managing our own releases on that. Or I am a Salesforce App Exchange partner where I'm releasing different features for my product to the consumers. Or a third party is that if we are an implementation partner and we are implementing, let's say 10 or 20 of the customers all at the same time, at that moment, it becomes a very scalable option for us when we can use it for a single org, or we can say use it for our products, or we can use it for 20 or 30 or hundreds of different projects going on at the same time. And that helps in the improved collaboration, as we talked earlier on that.
Okay, so I think primarily that what you're highlighting is that, if somebody is in the Salesforce environment and ecosystem, and if they are doing development and getting the platform that they necessarily don't have to go out and opt for any other DevOps platform because it's pretty much available in Salesforce and it's integrated. You don't have to move your databases across. And since you already have Salesforce as your ecosystem, you don't really have to pay anything for that as well. Or is it free of cost really, or is it like you have to pay something?
Well, that's a good question, Arun. So if I say it's free of cost, first of all, and the another thing is when you implement it over there, you don't need a DevOps engineer. So you don't need to have another resource or another practice of resource available to manage it also. A simple Salesforce admin can easily manage all the things over there. It's just point and click on it.
That's great. That's great. I guess that would answer a few of your questions that you're asking. But as we move along, I think we'll take all the questions towards the end of the session. Once the presentation and the demo is over, is when we do a Q&A, and I'll pick a few questions which are important, and we can answer them. Thank you.
Perfect. So what are the core components that we need to look upon when we are looking at the complete picture of DevOps? Majorly, it provides us a simple version control that's we are lacking for a long time in Salesforce. That's the best thing to have. We can have the testing automation happening over there so that we know when we are releasing those features to the next environment, we are not breaking anything on the next environment on that. Post that, we can easily monitor and have a logs of all the releases, all the features, all the changes that are happening during the complete life cycle. Everything is being tracked over there. We do have the complete history, and that enables us on the same platform, same features and same capabilities that we were hoping to have is the continuous integration and continuous deployment. So we make the changes, we test the releases, we build the features, and we go and continuously deploy those and have them released all together. Okay. So if I talk about a simple real use case over here, Arun, if you'd like to go through the challenges on that.
Okay, so I think when we implemented it 3 months ago, we were I think one of the biggest challenges that we have faced as a team was that I mean one person, and I'll talk more from a layman's perspective than from the coder standpoint, or you guys are techies. So I think the major challenge that I came across is that one developer is working on one sandbox environment, and there are other multiple developers having different requests. One of them may be a client change request, the other is some issue that client is facing in the real life system. And when they were deploying it, so for example, I worked on one sandbox, the other guy worked on different sandbox. There was no proper functionality or a workflow that we have to go from dev to QA to a testing sandbox to a final production sandbox. Is when we saw that without, for example, after QA, one of the devs has actually merged the code with production versus the other one did the change that QA and merged it. But the code, uniformity in all the environments were lacking. And when you make the change in one of the environments and merge the code again, then it overlapped, and at times it led to breaking the code and having real-time production issues. I think that pretty much summarizes the challenge that we face, and Anand, feel free to correct me if I was wrong anywhere.
Absolutely, that's you can say the center of the devil on that.
Yeah.
And to resolve the complete piece and to pick up the devil on that, the steps that we have taken to implement the DevOps in the Salesforce is we adopted you can say a Git version setup over there, and we use the GitHub for that. That's the oldest and the best that we do have in the market. Alongside that, we implemented the pipelines to make sure that every change of the code goes through the same route and should have uniformity between the environments. And the last one is it enables us to have automated pushing of the code from one environment to another one. And as a result of that, you can say, absolutely, we were able to cut off around 70 or 80% of the deployment time completely. So earlier, the deployments which took like 2 days or 3 days, it has been cut short to like 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours. That's a big change that we have seen. And on top of that, there has been less release incidents. Let's say if you are promoting from one environment to another environment, the code is always streamlined, so we don't need to make sure if we are breaking something onto the next environment. And as we do have the earlier version also, we can easily do a rollback on that.
So Anand, one of the fact that you mentioned here that adoption version of control using Git. So there are other such tools available. So why do you recommend Git over a Bitbucket or anything else which is available in the market?
So certainly we do have different Git environments available and the softwares on the market, but currently the point is Salesforce supports the GitHub on that to enable it on the DevOps environment. So we don't have supportability for the other environments right now, but as we progress, if Salesforce releases us the support for Bitbucket or any other Git environment, we will surely be able to use those also.
All right. So primarily you're saying that GitHub is the only environment which is available to manage our Git codes right now within Salesforce. So that's the recommended one, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's the oldest one, so we have faith on that completely.
Yeah, I agree.
So few of the best practices on to when rolling out the DevOps for any of the organization, be it an implementation partner or be it a person who is controlling their own Salesforce org. Recommendation is that you need to start small on that, have things set up slowly and gradually, everything will be in the pipeline. As initially we don't have all the environments controlled, all the pipelines controlled over there. So we need to set up the pipeline, automate the things through the pipeline setup that we do have, set up the version controls on that. As we have already developed most of the things in the Salesforce in the system, we need to balance that to our Git versions or Git source code also, so that when we start building the new features, the earlier code base which is originally developed in the Salesforce should have sync to those branches on that. And last two pointers are basically we have the regular trainings to all the developers and all the team that are involved with the DevOps process, so that we can have a better improvements and better quality of functioning of those practices in the Salesforce.
Okay, so I think one of the very important aspect, and I think you rightly highlighted, I just wanted to add. So I think if you say start small, that even includes start right. So I think if you pick a smaller project to start DevOps processes set up, you need. Everyone needs to have the pipeline and how the flow works from QA to your testing to your UAT to your client environment to the final production deployment. It has to be thought through, and post that, started with one project, where you see and then get to the other project. If you have like 5-10 projects running at the same time and start implementing it, you might not have the best practices implemented. One, then second, and then probably you can take it further to different teams is what we have recommended.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, before we get to the QA, there are a few things. Everyone, you do have some things on that.
Yeah, I think I'll ask a few questions, Anand, which I have, and it would be, if at all, I think it's in, actually in favor of the audience that we have. So, the very important, what is the context of, implementing DevOps in Salesforce? Because, so far, I think people have heard DevOps in the other stacks, Docker, Mean, Mern, PHP, etc. For Salesforce, pretty new, and I think this feature is pretty new. So, what is the important context that, why do you think this should be implemented by everyone who's there in Salesforce infrastructure?
So it's basically, first of all, you don't need to invest in new cost on that. You just need to train yourself and the developers. And the second thing is you can easily manage all your releases and the projects on that. You don't need to go out and all the time ask the developers, all the team members, managers, or anyone else to get those reports where we are progressing on that. You will have a single window, you go to that and you will be able to see how we are progressing everywhere. And the second thing is it can maintain your sanities of your environments and your code. That's the best thing to have in every organization for the security purpose.
Okay. So, see, other is, I think, one of the things that you can tell us or tell the audience from your experience that, how to manage the I mean, one of the examples that you can take is from one of the, one of the clients or one of the projects you implemented it on. How did you implement it? I mean, how the entire version control, the code management worked, and how did you set up? So I think if you can quote a little example, that would be really helpful for everyone.
Absolutely. So on that version control and everything, there are two basic scenarios on that. Let's say if you're starting afresh onto a new Salesforce org and nothing has been implemented over there, that's a clean slate. You can easily kick start on that and go ahead from there. But if let's say you already have a running Salesforce or multiple projects going on over there, then at that moment you need to plan it out. You need to control and have those source codes of Salesforce extracted from there, build different branches of the Git, complete version control over there, have them sync between both environments, and then start rolling it out. It might be even say a weekend activity or 2 days activity where you pull out all the source code from different environments, have the version control set up and roll it out over there, and then control it through the pipeline.
Okay, and how do you comment on how easy or how difficult it is to manage those codes? I mean, I think when you migrated the entire code, you guys have done like multiple projects in last 5 years, and you have so many codes. So can you just give us maybe just for the interest purposes, just throw some numbers on this?
Well, basically, if you say easy basis, if it's an existing project, yes, it requires some efforts to start that pipeline building over there. But when it has been built, it's just a click away to promote those releases to the next environment. I'll give you a quick glimpse on that.
Sure.
I'll just quickly switch to an environment. There we have the DevOps setup. It's for the demo purposes right now, but I'll surely show you on that.
Sure. Thank you.
So if you can see over here, this is the DevOps Center home screen over here, on which you can see we do have a single project created over here for the DevOps demo. Alongside that, you can create multiple different projects over here. So let's say if on the same organization or the same Salesforce instance, you are running different projects. One is for the sales, one is for the service center, another is for the partners. So you can run multiple projects at the same time, and it will handle and manage all of them for you. Alongside that, if I open this project on that, you will see multiple items on it. So I'll quickly go you and show you how the pipelines look like and how easily you can identify if any of the changes are, where are all the changes that are happening on that. So if you see the pipeline over here, it's just taking some time to load. So on the environments, you can easily see we do have an extensive pipeline over here that we use internally. As we do have multiple developer environments which are associated with different developers. They are working their own individual work on everyone on that. Alongside that, we do have a pipeline starting from the development environments to a merge environment, where we get to know and remove all the merge conflicts. Let's say if any occurs over there. After removing those conflicts, we provide it to the QA environment where QA does all their testing so that they will always have that code which will not have a merge conflict in the future. Post that, if we get clearance from the QA, we move to the UAT, give the UAT to the customers, they check to the business users, they've confirmed all the functionalities over there. On top of that, we come to the pre-prod environment where we again check the merge conflicts before moving to the prod so that our prod transaction will be smooth. And last is the production. So everything goes through this pipeline. I will show you one more thing on the same. That's an interesting one. When I talked about that, you can easily identify where our current release is happening and at what environment it is there. So you can see all the work items and all the environments over here. So you can see this is a work item, you say user active filter. It is currently at the pre-prod environment, and I can easily select it over here and promote the selected environment to the production. And it will immediately jump to that one. That's how easy to promote the things to one environment to another environment. And another interesting thing of the DevOps, development developer is doing all the work on their development environment, but they don't know what changes they have made. Or the person who is promoting these changes doesn't know what changes has already been made over there. That's the major is it provides you a visibility of what all changes has been made on that environment from the last moment to the current moment of the development. So let's say, for example, if I have a new work item created over here, saying a new field in introduction, and I create a work item on it. And before showing you that thing, I'll just quickly log into the environment and 1 second. I'll just quickly do a login and share the screen again on that. For here, what I do is on the developer environment, I create a new field just to show you how easily it can identify the changes in the system. Let's create a new field over here saying just an email field on it, naming emails.
Okay, while you log in, I think somebody has raised their hand. Vineet Kumar has a question. Vineet, can you type it and I'll ask on your behalf?
Sure, and in the meantime, I'll show you how you can say a new field introduction will look up over here.
Sure.
So I created a work item. Now I can easily choose from which environment I need to check the changes has happened over there. So I clicked on that developer environment, selected the one that on which I made the changes, and I clicked on proceed from there. It automatically created a branch on the GitHub. If you can see on the top,
Yes.
so that's the beauty of it. You really don't need to make the branch, push the pod or pull the pod from there. It will automatically make that happen. So you can see over here, it's telling us 29 files has been changed and are available to pull on that environment. That's interesting. We can pull the changes and we can easily see all the changes that has been made on that environment. And easily identify and select the changes that we need to push.
That's interesting. So I think there's a question coming in the group. It says, can we cherry pick the code snippet using Salesforce DevOps?
Absolutely. That's why I'm right now showing it to you.
Okay, great.
So currently, like 30 changes has been made on that environment. What I can do is I can certainly go to the specific change, select the change over here from this multi-select list, saying new field on account, like a comment to mark it and say what the change is and commit the changes on that. As soon as I commit the changes over there, the changes will get pushed to the GitHub library on that.
So are you saying that I once connect GitHub while setting it up and post that I really don't have to go in the GitHub and do anything further? I can just manage it right from this DevOps center in Salesforce?
Absolutely. The only thing that you need to go to the GitHub to do is a code review.
Okay, okay.
Because you can be able to see what all changes has been done on that perspective. So as I committed one change from here on this work item, you can see that change is not part of the list anymore. So it always tracks what changes that you have already pushed on that. From there, if you have completed or selected all the changes that you want to put in for this work item, you can easily create a review that's called the code review basically. And you can start the review process for that ticket or the code that we are trying to push it on that.
So I guess when I say cherry pick, I think the person asked for further, further question that, the question was that, can we pick a particular line from an Apex code? Is it possible while using DevOps Center?
Not the line for that, but you can move only the files, basically the complete Apex class from an environment to another. As we were doing earlier, it's not that we can pick a line from there.
Okay. There's another question from one of the attendees. It's like, if two dev push the code and code is in the integration environment, then it moves onto the test environment. Now, during the testing, tester found the dev one code is good and dev two code is not good. Client says move dev one code on production. Interesting. How will you manage this bit? Because both codes are in testing environment.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of the DevOps on that. And that's how the DevOps plays their role on that. So I'll just quickly move this to the pipeline and I'll show you on that. So instead of going to the code review process, I'll mark it as ready to promote over here. And now this work item is ready to go into pipeline. Until now, we cannot move this work item or the piece of code on the pipeline. So if I go back to the pipeline from here, it will start showing me on the pipeline saying this work item has been approved and is ready to move on to the pipeline from here.
So I guess you are saying there are multiple environments, whichever is approved or ready to go live. If it is approved by the manager or the code reviewer, is only when it comes to the pipeline to be committed to the further to be taken to the next level branch.
Absolutely. And the beauty is when I'm moving these work items from one environment to another, let's say if we do have a work item 1 from the dev 1 environment and work item 2 from dev 2 environment, it will not lose that work item piece while promoting to the next environment. It will always show me 2 work items, 3 work items, 4 work items on the pipeline. So I can pick and choose which work items needs to be promoted from one environment to another one. So I can easily control which piece of codes we are promoting to the next one.
Great. I hope that answered the question. I think next one somebody asked us, can you share some best practices for managing Salesforce DevOps workflow? I guess you kind of answered this in the presentation, but just a quick one-liner would help, I guess, the attendee.
Well, you can say the best pipeline that I prefer is always have to the dev environments over here and going from the dev environments to a merge or a conflict resolution environment. Then you can have a different QA environment or you can use the merge as a QA. It's completely your choice on that. Alongside that, you should have a separate UAT environment and it's completely up to you if you want to have a pre-prod or directly moving to the production. Well, if you do have a full copy, you should always have that as a pre-prod for testing and data testing on that.
That's great. I hope that answers. So I think there's another question. So I'm taking. So I think we'll be moving to questions now. We're pretty done with the download that we wanted to give. I have got answers to my questions, and let's take the audience questions now. Well, we have taken a few already. Let's have a few more, and then we'll close the session. So I think there's one more question, and it is again interesting one. So if we have multiple stories on DevOps Center, but one user story failed us in the middle without solving the issue of the previous user story issue, can we deploy the next user story in DevOps Center?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's like you're promoting multiple work items to different stages from there, and you can pick and choose which work items needs to be promoted. Let's say if you have already 4 items on the pre-prod, but there is something urgent came up and you need to push that direct to the production. You can have that developed and that work item you can promote it stage by stage to the production and keep all those 4 work items still on the pre-prod environment.
Right. I guess even if for example, there are multiple developers involved, so and they are working on 2 user stories. So one of the step story is completed, the other one's not. So I think one can be pushed, other can hold, right? So that is pretty simple, I guess.
Absolutely. And to controlling that, you do have one work item as per one user story or a one block of feature that you can actually release as a best practice on that. So one work item should be on the par where it can be released to the production individually.
Okay, that's great. Um, okay. Yeah, please go ahead, Rahul. I guess you want to ask a question. People, we are ready to take questions, so please keep typing. I'll keep asking on your behalf.
Alongside that, I'll show you one more thing on
Sure.
this DevOps in the meantime. You can see the activity history over here. When we were talking about how will I know what has been happening over here, you can easily see which work items are going through which portions over there, which has merged, started, ended, and everything. Let's say if there is a failure on that, you will be easily able to see what is the work item, what are the details, what has been pushed to what environment.
So I think nobody can play with the system here, is it?
Absolutely, you will get to know everything on that.
Great. So I think there's a question says I have used Copado, and in that we have back promotions. Is it available in Salesforce DevOps?
Well, back promotions are not yet available on the Salesforce DevOps as of now, but we'll see if that will be available in future.
Okay. Great. Any more questions, anyone? I think we will give another 30 seconds for questions to pop in. Uh, yeah, and there's this one interesting generic question from somebody which says, what are the common challenges faced in Salesforce dev implementation?
So if I say about Salesforce DevOps implementation, the major challenges that we usually face onto the part where we do have the environments, people are already working on those environments. But what's the best time to have this thing implemented over there? It cannot be always a clean slate environment where you can easily start and kickstart over there. If you are working on a new environment, you should start with DevOps only. If it's an existing environment, you should plan it out, have your complete Git repository set up over there, and then start building the complete pipeline on top of that. When we are building the pipeline in the Salesforce, there are two things that we need to do over there. We need to mark the environment, or you can say Salesforce sandbox to that. And another thing is we need to tag a Git branch to that. So if that environment has already started development over there, you can pull that source code out from there, push it to that branch, and connect that branch to that environment. That way, you can have the branch and the Salesforce environment on the same level page.
Great. So there's another one coming in. Once we change status to ready to promote, can we set prior status?
Absolutely, you can demote it from there. So if that work item has already moved in on the gone to the promoted environment, but if it has not been promoted, it's ready to promote, we can certainly push it back to saying in the review.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess, yeah, there are no more questions. We can still wait for another 15-20 seconds before we wrap up the session. So questions, we are more than happy to take now. Go on, everyone. So I think one question that I have, how does this, for a developer, I think it's very interesting. I mean, while it has its benefit, how does this makes a developer life simpler to have Salesforce DevOps within the Salesforce environment?
Well, for Salesforce developer, basically, he just needs to do the same amount of work for the development piece. But any of the more efforts that he need to put in to promote it to different environments, every time the project manager or team lead gets the same developer saying, okay, promote it to the next environment that has been completed. Okay, QA completed, move it to the QAT. Okay, UAT completed, move it to the production. So we need to always go back and ask the developers time for that. We don't need to bother the developer for all these other release management and let him focus on his core area. And the developer will have a less disturbances on his day.
Great. I guess there are no more questions, and we're pretty done with the entire thing. So I think it's great, Anand. Thank you so much for this knowledge sharing with everyone. It is a great insight, and I think while Salesforce has recently added this feature, there's a lot coming in this space. So I think we should all be just kind of plugged into it and see what's going to happen in the future. But yeah, for now, I think it's really it's making our life even simpler.
Absolutely. And the beauty of it that it's not necessary that it, let's say I do have a Salesforce org and then on only I can do a practice of the DevOps. It all Salesforce also provides this on the developer environment. You can set up your own environment and have a taste of it, how it works.
Okay, great. I think before we go, before wrap session, let's take this quick question from Hardik. He says, "Can we set up DevOps process in our DevOps?" I think yes, we can. We
Absolutely.
certainly can. Yes, that's simple question I can answer, Hardik, for you. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining in. I hope we enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it and had you taking the knowledge that you wanted out of this webinar. And thanks a lot. Thanks, Anand.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Just last note that you don't need a paid version of Git also.
Oh, great. Okay,
So you can do the complete testing on the DevOps.
great. Great. Thanks everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.